Hi, this is Drew Erickson back again talking about money, not math, because I believe most people love money without realizing how often it doesn't work the same way as math. And as I'm sure you all may know by now, I love our country, but I believe our government is terrible at managing money and should not control our financial future. As you can see from my background, I'm not in my office today. I'm actually sitting in my living room. My business is still open. I'm still working with clients, but all my meetings are online today, so I just like working from home. So in today's conversation, I am reviewing an article titled "You Are Not Alone. Coronavirus Crisis Has Damaged Retirement Plans of Many Americans" from usatoday.com. All right, so as always, I'll be reading through the article and adding my own personal comments and thoughts along the way, because I think this article specifically covers a lot of really good points, but many of those points can be, I guess, expanded on. So starting in, not dwelling on the gruesome losses on Wall Street, not looking at your 401k every other minute. The old adages grew much harder to follow in March as we watched the Dow plunge by more than 30% from the record set just a month ago. So to put that in perspective, if you had $1 million a month ago and all your money was invested in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you now may only have $700,000 in your account. Keep in mind, that's a statement value within your account. It's not your real money. All right, the amount of shares you have and their value changes daily. That is not realized, that the value of those shares are not realized until you actually sell them. All right, so that's where we always talk about buy low, sell high. The second you sell shares within the stock market, you've locked in your gain or your loss. While you're just looking at your statement, nothing's locked in. It can just feel emotionally stressful. Or if you have a bunch of cash on hand and to get ready to take advantage of the opportunity, it can be exciting because stocks are on sale right now. So the pocketbook realities of COVID-19 have hit us everywhere, from workplaces to our 401k plans. One reader in West Bloomfield, Michigan emailed me confidentially, wow, that word's hard, secretly, because I can't say the word apparently. "I'm not selling, buying, or checking my account. Not much I can do to change what happens now." And they're right. Right now, whatever you have or had is what you have or had, right? We can't go back and change the past, regardless, even if we might want to. Which, side note, is what's so annoying about politics right now, is everyone's playing the woulda, coulda, shoulda game of, well, if we done this, or could we have done that? Well, guess what? We can't change the past, so maybe we just should work together and moving forward the best that we can. Getting back to money. He's right, or this person's right. We can't change the past, but I think the important thing for us to talk about or think about today is, do we want to be as vulnerable to the stock market going forward? All right, so the market is a great tool to use for financial planning, but should it be the only tool? All right, I love golf, so I'll use just a quick golf analogy. When you play golf, the club that hits the ball the furthest is your driver, right? But it also can get you in the most trouble, because if you hit 300 yards and it goes dead straight, perfect. But if it goes a little bit right or a little bit left, it can be a lot worse off than if you're hitting like a pitching wedge. So in this case, I look at the stock market as your driver. All right, it has the highest potential for growth, but it also has the highest potential for loss and to get you into trouble. On the other side of the spectrum, your putter would be like your savings account. You're not going to get any growth, but it's pretty safe. I shouldn't say any. You're not going to get very much growth, but you're also probably not going to get any loss because it's a savings account and it's hopefully federally insured, right? So within that, should our financial plans be completely dependent on our drivers, the market, and our putters, the savings accounts, or are there a lot of other tools out there that we can use to adjust our plans so that we are more flexible and less vulnerable moving forward? All right, so we can't change the past, but we can make adjustments moving forward. So if you're interested in determining in finding out what those alternative options are, reach out to someone you trust or reach out to me. I'm absolutely willing to have a conversation. All right, continuing on. We're looking at loss all around us: loss of savings, loss of jobs, loss of lives. So maybe not looking at your 401k could be the best personal care move that you can make as we adjust to the drastically altered new normal. Taking a long-term retirement attitude, Jane McNamara closed the doors on her Michigan Jazzercise studio temporarily at noon Monday. The emotion of the moment led her to snap a photo of herself at the door with the bright yellow dot saying facility closed. I'm walking away from something that I never thought I would have to shut down, she said Tuesday in a phone interview. This must have been last week. She's hoping to be back in business March 31st. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued an executive order that closed fitness centers, gyms, exercise studios, bars, seating at restaurants, and other spots to limit the spread of the virus. The closures will continue until 11:59 p.m. March 30th. At this time, it's easy to panic. It's easy to think, poor me, McNamara said, but she's not going there. This is a very positive thing that we're all doing to help save each other, McNamara said. No time to be selfish. And I think she's really making a great point there. So I think everyone's different, and we all have different financial backgrounds and different emotional backgrounds and all this different stuff. But I believe in times like these, there's two polar opposite groups of people. On one side of things, we have people who are were living paycheck to paycheck, didn't have set benefits or salaried jobs, that are being sent home and financially don't know what their lives are going to look like a week from now, and everything's getting flipped upside down. For these people, I'm really sorry. If you need some, hopefully things work out. But on the other side, there are people who are going to be okay. They have money set aside, they have work or businesses or income that's not going away. And if you're on that side of things, think to yourself, how can you, on an offensive side, there's going to be opportunities out there for you to take advantage of. But on the compassionate side, are there things you can do to help those in need, whether it's supporting local businesses that are shut down, supporting your local food shelf, submitting or volunteering time, or submitting money, or N95 masks, right? There's a lot of things we can do to help. But so just be mindful of that, I think, is important, but also just think about the greater good is what she's getting at. I think it's a really important view, even for myself personally, because so often I'm thinking about how is this affecting me personally, and then we have to step outside ourselves and think about how does this affect everyone else. So continuing on, she says, you can handle a short-term hit, she said, noting that many customers haven't canceled their automatic monthly payments. At the same time, though, the center is losing walk-in customers who paid by the class and has had trouble signing up new customers as the coronavirus scare built in the past month or so. It affects the bottom line, McNamara said. She's the only paycheck in a one-person household. McNamara, 64, knows she's lost money on her retirement savings too, but she hasn't looked at all her accounts to calculate the losses. She doesn't want to do it. Keep in mind, they aren't losses until she sells. It's not as bad as 2008, 2009, McNamara said. Back then, I lost my home. I went underwater, and I lost my home. Her home was sold in a short sale for less than the balance on the mortgage during the collapse in the housing market. McNamara, who is a cancer warrior, said it's important to be mindful of the human suffering associated with the coronavirus outbreak. It makes me grateful that I'm not sick with this. And reading that really made me grateful as well, because she's gone through a lot more than I have in my personal life. So Randy Smith, 59, he says that he's a ticket broker. He said he lost his line of work in March as big name artists canceled or postponed blockbuster concerts amidst the coronavirus crisis. My income is going to be zero for however long everything is going to be shut down, said Smith. Smith is a ticket broker and typically buys and sells tickets for entertainment events, comedy shows, theater productions. Names like the Rolling Stones or Elton John would have brought in big money, not now. He stopped trying to sell tickets for Detroit's professional sports teams long ago. Our teams are so poor, the demand is just not there, Smith said. The abrupt halt to large gatherings and the stock market meltdown hit him at exactly the wrong time. He just bought a condo and tapped into a sizable chunk of cash to do so. He still has some emergency cash on hand, but not as much as he did before buying the condo. So I think this is a huge point to step aside and highlight. So everything, again, we cannot change the past, but I think another important point that this coronavirus outbreak and the financial impacts it's having has on us is the reminder, even to myself personally, of the importance of having 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up in liquid cash and safe. Because we never know when there's going to be something that goes wrong with our house, our car, our home, our financial lives, our job, the coronavirus, right? So having liquid savings on hand is so important, and he highlights that for himself personally. But it also goes to, I've had people reach out to me, the clients of mine, saying, is now a good time to invest in the market? And it could be if you're okay with taking on that risk, as long as you have liquid savings built up, right? We don't want to put ourselves in a tough spot because we got overly aggressive. A lot of people have gotten really, really broke because of cryptocurrency trying to do the same thing, all right? So just that's another point to keep in mind, that building emergency funds, though not sexy, right? Using your putter, right, to use my earlier golf analogy, though not exciting, is extremely important to have the putter in the bag, aka a 3 to 6 months expenses saved up. All right, and trust me, that has been a very tough. That's a personal thing for myself too to fight with, because Brittany and I expecting our first child, we want to buy, but we also have to make sure we try to build up our savings too if we can. So going back to the article, I will live like college students, said Smith, who was an attorney for many years. I guess ramen noodles still taste good. Smith has built up 6 figures in retirement savings, but about 85% of it was invested in stocks. And he estimates that he's seen losses of about 30%, but he's not selling off his investments. So important point here is for people to understand, and they'll touch on it a little bit more later in the article, is when they say he has 6 figures in retirement savings, but 85% is invested in stocks. Anytime you invest in like a 401k, for example, you're put into a mutual fund or a collection of funds that determine a percentage of how much is invested in stocks versus bonds and cash. Now, when you look at a risk versus reward, the more risk you're willing to take, the more potential reward you may get, right? Your driver, being stocks, can hit it the furthest, but can also get in the most trouble. Whereas the less risk you take, the less potential reward there is. That's where the putter comes in, or savings accounts. So when you invest in like a mutual fund or through a 401k, things like that, there's 3 primary groups of assets. You have your stocks, highest risk, highest reward. You have your bonds, kind of in the middle, right? Some risk, some reward. And then you have basically your cash or your money market accounts that are very low risk, very low reward. And the balance of those determines the risk of your account. So if you're investing 100% in stocks, you're extremely high risk, right? High fluctuations. And this is where the Dow Jones has gone down 30%. It's likely your account would go down 30%, right? Whereas if you're 50% stocks, 50% bonds and cash, the Dow Jones goes down 30%, you may only go down 10, 15%. But if the Dow Jones goes up 30%, you might only go up 10 to 15%. I'm making these numbers up. Please do not quote me on that. I'm just giving you an example. But the reason why I wanted to highlight that is because he said about 85% of his were invested in stocks. And later on, you'll hear a story about decreasing the risk as they get closer to retirement as well. So I want to make sure that's clear, because I know it's not talked about often when it comes to your group 401k advisors and things like that. So the U.S. economy, fundamentally, nothing really has changed, he said, other than the fact that we have a one-time event that's going to last for however long it's going to last. He, too, feels those who are worse off, those who will lose jobs and not be paid for even a short time by their employers, as many businesses close for the next 2 weeks. It filters down. And people who don't have savings are going to be hit immediately, he said. He's looking into volunteering to help bring food in the community to people who need it. So this is obviously an upstanding guy that would go on the side of the spectrum I earlier mentioned of having the means to help out and not stress out. So a positive attitude amid a pandemic. Others, including some economists, insist it doesn't make much sense to dwell on the rapidly shrinking bottom line in retirement accounts. I'm not checking my balance often much. That statement sounds weird, but I'm not checking my balance often much. I think if you check your balance too often, it can drive you crazy, said Charles Ballard, a Michigan State University economics professor. Ballard said his overall balance for his retirement savings plan at MSU was down a little more than 10% as of March 16th. Some stock indexes are down about 30%, but his entire portfolio is not down that much because he reduced his exposure to stocks as I found myself getting closer to retirement. So that's where I talked about his ratio within his mutual funds. He decreased the amount that were in stocks and increased the amount that were in bonds, cash, real estate, and things like that. So he said, I am not selling. My strategy for 40 years has been to contribute every month to my 403b, which is run by TIAA. He said, for many years, he was comfortable investing his entire retirement savings plan in stocks, but he put more into bonds and real estate as he moved closer to retirement age. but I still have a lot of stocks. So to correct myself earlier, I said there's 3 primary groups: stocks, bonds, and market money or savings. Real estate fits in there as well. So I guess some would argue there's 4 primary groups or categories. So going back to what he said, for many years he was comfortable investing his entire retirement savings plan in stocks, but he put more into bonds and real estate as he moved closer to retirement age. But I still have a lot of stocks. My stock portfolio took a big hit in 1987 and in 2000, in 2001, and 2008, 2009. But each time it came back, said Ballard, who was 65. Another side note to highlight here. For some reason, humans have very long memories, but very short ones when it comes to the stock market. So in 2008, when it crashed, everyone acted like their hair was on fire. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? The world's coming to an end. This last week, again, I have empathy for those who are financially dependent on the stock market, and I'm sorry that you're stressed out right now, but we can't, it's crazy to me that we act like it's the first time ever. Because on average, it happens almost every 8 years. Like he highlights here, 1987, he lost money. 2000, he lost money. 2008, he lost money. And now 2020, he lost money. So if you're going to invest in the stock market, we have to understand that's a risk, that market corrections are going to happen once in a while, which is why we have to ask ourselves, are we comfortable with our entire financial plan being dependent on other people's emotions and market fluctuations? If your answer is yes, you're comfortable with that, okay, keep doing what you're doing, put all your money in your 401k and in the stock market. If you aren't comfortable with the understanding that the market does correct itself every once in a while due to unforeseen events, maybe it's time to have a conversation with someone you trust to look at alternative options to add to your plan. All right, so continuing on, my stock market he said that always comes back, which is true, they often do come back. The reality is there's only so much you can control here and a lot that you really cannot control. So finding a financial strategy. Of course, my computer's glitching. All right. Oh, I got kicked out of the article. Okay, so I don't know what happened there. I got kicked out of the article, but rather than making you wait for me to fix whatever's going on, I'm just going to kind of wrap everything up by saying we can't change the past, but we can take adjustments moving forward. All right, so it's really important right now to take collection on, or think about, what do you want your plan to look like going forward? And I don't mean what tools, what mutual funds, what 401k, what do you want that to look like from a specific tool standpoint, but just from a philosophy standpoint. Do you want all of your money dependent on other people's emotions? Do you want more consistency within your account? Do you want more flexibility within your accounts? Do you want more safety within your accounts? Do you want more tax diversification within your accounts? Right? These are all things that can be achieved, but it takes a conversation, it takes action. So thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me today. Please reach out with any feedback. You can comment, you can reach out, you can share with a friend. All of these things are really appreciated. My goal is to add value to your lives, so hopefully today's conversation did just that. Thanks again for taking the time to watch or listen, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.